Dun, 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 dun. We're back. Bears Split Screen Mock Draft 3.0. And this one is going to be the most realistic on every single one of them. We refine these things as we go along, guys. And things have changed after the Senior Bowl. But I tried really hard, and I did double fact check every single aspect of this thing. So there's going to be some accuracy here. Things have changed after the Senior Bowl. I did my best to make every one of these scenarios that I would be happy with to some extent if the Bears went in these directions with the draft. So this is our mock draft split screen 3.0. Here is our scenarios. This time, I'm so set that the Bears are taking Marvin Harrison Jr. And only trading down to 2, that for the final 2 scenarios are around that. But the other thing that I've been hearing a lot of is a lot of people think because Ryan Poles and the new office, the new coaching staff, will want a quarterback to develop on their own, do a Jordan Love type of scenario, that they have some blanket security for themselves with the amount of draft capital we have. So in scenario 3, we're going to take a quarterback in either the first or beginning of the second round. And there's a lot of rumors of one in particular. I'll give it away right away. Michael Penix Jr., because of the Senior Bowl situation and because of his injury history, a lot of people don't expect him to go in the first round. So in scenario 3, we're going to take Michael Penix Jr. in the third round, or in the second round, in the beginning of the second round with our third overall pick. So in scenario 1, the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. They're going to trade Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons for 40 and 110, which is about as realistic as you're hearing out there. If the Bears do trade Justin Fields, it'll be for a second and a fourth rounder. Possibly a future fourth in there as well. Possibly. Who knows? But we're trying to keep this realistic, so this is the most realistic scenario. Bears own 1-1, 1-9, 240, 373. You can look at it over there. In scenario 2 and 3, the Bears are going to trade with the Commanders now that Cliff Kingsbury is officially there. Caleb Williams is going to go home to Washington where he belongs. And the Bears are going to get 234, 241. Next year's second-round pick and guard center Nick Gates, who ended up starting at the end of the year as center for the Commanders and played very well for that individual fan who decided he wanted to question me and was wrong. I'm going to point you out on here. And the Bears are going to own 1-2, 1-9, 234, 241, 373, 4, 111. You can see all that as well as a 2025 second-round pick from that scenario. So those are our scenarios. And with that, here is our salary cap. And I did double-check it this time. Sorry about that before, guys. But here is what you're going to see we're going to do. We're going to focus on Jalen Johnson. If he doesn't sign, just like you saw in my last video last night, we're going to tag him. $18.5 million roughly. I like Derrick Henry in all these scenarios. You guys might disagree. This is just for the video. This is what I would do right now as we stand right now. Xavier McKinney is our safety. Very, very quality safety. Go look at his stats from last year. I really think he is a huge upgrade from Eddie Jackson. Curtis Samuel is our slot. Dylan Cole re-signing. Mercedes Lewis re-signing. Maurice Hurst as a potential big outbreak player who has played very well but can't get rid of injuries, constantly injury-ridden. Evan Brown on the left scenario. We signed him as a free agent, a backup center from the Seahawks, and then Patrick Scales. In the other 2 scenarios, we are keeping Justin Fields. Oh, look in the top there. On my new scenarios, I'm getting rid of Travis Homer. I'm cutting his contract. And then on the other ones, we're getting Nick Gates as part of the trade package with the Commanders. So those are the big scenario changes. All right, so with that, with the first overall pick in each scenario, with the far left trading Justin Fields, Caleb Williams is the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. In scenarios 2 and 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. will be picked second overall. All right, we move to our next pick, and I am getting more and more fond of this idea. We're going to trade back. We're going to trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1-9 for 120, 384, 2025 first-round pick. I think the Bears brass will want that extra draft capital. Very similar position for where the Bears traded up to get Justin Fields from 20 to 11. This is a little bit more. Last time I had a fourth-rounder thrown in there. Some of you said that was too much to give up with a first-round pick. I don't think it is when you're jumping up 11 spots. But we're going to make it realistic for you guys. We're going to keep the picks even is the biggest reason I agreed to that. So we're not going to throw an extra fourth-rounder in there. But in scenarios 2 and 3 and 1, all 3 of them, we could have an extra 4th rounder, but we're going to leave that out for now. And the reason I'm doing that is because I really think when I draft day movie, when you write down on your piece of paper, there's a couple players that I have that are no matter what players. And that, to me, that's Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, and Jackson Powers Johnson. And he is climbing boards. Now, normally you hear a lot of buzz on the center position, and they don't end up going in the 1st round. It's just not that quality of a pick that teams feel they can waste a 1st round run. It often goes in the 2nd round. And last year you saw John Michael Schmitz was the big name, and he ended up going a little later in the 2nd round, and he ended up not having such a great year. But this is very different. You can't use 2 different players as that example. Jackson Powers Johnson is a guy that I've been bringing out in my videos for the last month that it's unheard of. He has a singular number 1 sack, hit, or hurry combined on the entire year this last year. That is unfathomable. That is just not heard of. So I don't think he's going to have any issue transitioning into the NFL. I think he's going to be a day 1 all-star, Pro Bowl stud. I just think he's the real deal. So we pick him at 20. I see Pittsburgh as a legitimate trade partner. They have multiple needs that they'd want to trade up for. The top cornerbacks in this class will start going right around 9, 10, 11, 12. And if they want the guy they want, or if for some reason a quarterback ends up slipping and Jaden Daniels goes at 9, they can trade up and get him at 9. And they would probably give up more in that scenario if it was for Jaden Daniels. But we get Jackson Powers Johnson with the 20th overall pick. Okay, next, we're going to move on. In scenarios 2 and 3, like I said, scenario 3, we have to take a quarterback high. And in this scenario, Michael Penix Jr. drops out of the 1st round. And many are saying he might go mid-2nd round. In mine, I want to make sure we grab him before teams like the Raiders end up snagging him with, what would they be, number 42 overall, 44 overall? 44 overall. So we want to snag him before the Raiders. So we're going to grab Michael Penix Jr. on the far right scenario. Scenario 2, I'm going to double dip on wide receiver. Many of you might not agree with this, but I really like Xavier Legette. I know a lot of you might be turned off by the whole Senior Bowl thing where he measured 2 inches shorter and he might have had one rough day of practice the other day. He absolutely dominated. You haven't heard this anywhere else first. I said this 2 weeks ago. It kind of got overlooked. I'm going to say it again here. He is DJ Moore 2.0. Xavier Legette can be compared to other people when he was taller, when everyone thought he was taller. He was DK Metcalf. He's DJ Moore 2.0. He's a running back in a wide receiver body that has great instincts, great route running. He grabs everything down to his hand size is almost identical. His hand size are being scrutinized now after the Senior Bowl. Exact same hand size as DJ Moore. This is DJ Moore 2.0. Why do we need 2 DJ Moores on the same team? You don't turn down 2 DJ Moores on the same team. So if you can imagine in scenario 2 in the middle there, we've got Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore 2.0, a.k.a. Xavier Legette, and Curtis Samuel now. Those 4, yes, those who are saying Justin Fields doesn't have any weapons will no longer be able to say Justin Fields doesn't have any weapons. So, yes, I'll do more on Xavier Legette. I'm going to do a video on him and DJ Moore comparison. Yeah, it's scary to compare someone to someone like DJ Moore, but the reality is Xavier Legette is a special talent, and I really do have him going high. And now that this stuff has come out, the only thing that would bar him from going 34, in my opinion, is if the Panthers see him as DJ Moore 2.0 and the Panthers take him at 33, which very well could happen. We're going to say they don't. We're going to say they take Ladd McConkey, which in my mock scenario they're doing, and we're going to go ahead and grab Xavier Legette. All right, next, with the other 2 scenarios getting Justin Fields trade, we're going to take Devontae Walker at 240. I am still high on Devontae Walker. He has the highest contested catch rate in this draft. Well, okay, that was a broad. He has one of the highest. He has extremely high contested catch rate. Did he have the best week at Senior Bowl? No. I think he's going to make up for it at the Combine, though. He's still a round 2 pick to me, and I would not be upset if the Bears took him at 240 at all. With 241, guy that we've been talking about forever on my channel. We've been talking about him for months since I started this channel. And originally 5th, 6th round projection, 4th and 3rd. And now all of a sudden he's a borderline 1st round projection. He very well could go 1st round. He just hasn't stacked up the consistency that some of these other players have. So he might not go there, but he's an absolute beast of a human being. And to me, He's DeMarcus Walker 2.0. He could line up in different gaps. The 3-tech, the 5-tech, outside on the edge, defensive end. He could do all those and be dominant at every single aspect of it, which I think is wonderful, which DeMarcus Walker can do. But Darius Robinson looks like he has the burst and the speed to be able to be dominant in this league. I really want to see what he can do. So we're moving him up the draft, just like everybody else is starting to move up. We got to move up with him as well. So Darius Robinson, defensive end out of Missouri, is 241. All right, with 373, you guys know by now that I love Cade Stover. Cade Stover, tight end out of Ohio State. 0 drop passes at all. He doesn't drop balls whatsoever. He's a bruiser. He's a beast. He's a big statured guy. Put him in 12 personnel sets with Cole Kmet on the other side. These two, they're going to scare some people. I really like Cade Stover. So Cade Stover, 373. 384, we're going to go back to Zach Zinter. We're going to be patient with his healing. We've got Nate Davis. We've got Tevin Jenkins, so he's not expected to start anyways. We rotate him in, and if Nate Davis doesn't cut the bacon, then Nate Davis is going to be out after this next year. We'll see how Zach Zinter does, but Zach Zinter to me is just one of those quality signings you take at 384. Really like Zach Zinter a lot. All right, with the Justin Fields trade, the extra pick over here, we weren't able to take Darius Robinson on option 1, but we're going to take Braden McGregor, who I really like as well. I think he's a great defensive end prospect. So Braden McGregor is going to go at 110 in this draft. And then on all three of them, with our own pick at 4-111, we're going to take Dominic Puny, offensive tackle out of Kansas. A lot to like about him. He's not going to take over for Braxton Jones, but it does give us a very, very efficient swing tackle that really upgrades for us. No more Larry Borum. That joke is over with. Now we've got Dominic Puny, which is where you're going to take a swing tackle, is around the 4th round anyways. All right, we're switching it up. I am not set on any one in particular running back. Some of you didn't like my Audric Estimate pick. I do like Ray Davis as well. There's a lot of upside to him. We're going to take Ray Davis with our running back. I do believe we'll take a running back in the 4th or 5th round in this draft. All right, with our last picks in number 2, we're going to take Joe Milton as our backup prospect. Backup to Tyson Bagent. A lot of you got upset that I said that he would be a backup. He's a developmental prospect. We'll clarify it. Joe Milton III has a cannon for an arm. I've said so much about him already. I'm not going to keep saying it, but he's someone that you bring in to see what this new coaching staff can do to develop him 2 to 3 years down the road from now. I don't see him getting any playing time really at all. Really, he's just there to be developed. And then this year's potential breakout stud, Hayden Hatton, wide receiver out of Idaho. There's a lot to like about him. We're not going to go into full breakdowns on this video, but I do like the prospect of Hayden Hatton. Right now projected to be a 6th, 7th rounder, but I really do think he's going to climb into the 5th round for someone to be the Puka style of pick. Just like last year, Puka was 6th, 7th round projection. Ended up got picked in the 5th round. Hayden Hatton, I'm going to say a similar thing. Do I think he's Puka Nacua? No, but I think he has a lot of upside. So here's our teams. In the first draft, you can see what happens when we take Caleb Williams. Second draft, you can see what happens when we're not taking Caleb Williams. And the third draft, we're taking Michael Penix instead of Xavier Legette. Very similar and a lot of return on all three of these. There's a lot of upside on all three of these guys. Either way you slice it, the Bears are in good position. They're in a solid position. The big difference is this. If we trade away Justin Fields, we're getting higher quality picks in this draft, and we'll get a Commanders second and Steelers first next year. Well, I goofed, guys. Let me pause this real quick. Hold on. All right, I put it in there. We got to be fair. On all three of those scenarios, the Steelers gave us the first-round pick for trading down from 9 to 20. So that's not just the other two. The big difference is we're getting the Commanders second-rounder next year. So we'll have 2 firsts, 3 seconds next year on options 2 and 3, and 2 firsts and 2 seconds on option 1. So still not bad. It's still not a bad scenario. Any way you slice that, just get an extra second-rounder next year and higher quality picks this year. So let's look how it stacks up with the entire 53-man roster now. All right, in option 1, you see down there Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent. We don't have a third quarterback on this scenario. We're developing Caleb and Tyson. They can always bring in somebody. They can bring in an undrafted free agent as well. If someone goes down, teams always do that in the middle of the season. They'll sign someone. So it's not a huge deal that we don't have 3 of them there. It is different than the other two. The other two, we're going to be developing 3 quarterbacks. And then you see the tight ends. They're the same on all 3 of those scenarios. Cole Kmet, Cade Stover, Mercedes Lewis. And on offensive line, Jackson Johnson, Zach Zenner, Tevin Jenkins, Nate Davis, Nick Gates, and then Evan Brown's the only difference in option number 1. Not a huge difference there. Nothing that I'm going to be complaining or worrying about. Either way you slice it, those are pretty equal, and the tackles are the same on all 3 as well. The big difference on these is the wide receiver rooms. Taking Caleb Williams, we're going to get Devontae Walker and Hayden Hatton. Taking my favorite scenario, number 2, we get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Xavier Legette. To me, that is huge to be able to have those 4 receivers as your star 4 receivers. DJ Moore, 5'11", running back style. Xavier Legette, 6'1", running back style just like him. Curtis Samuel's shorter, I believe 5'8", 5'9", out of the slot. Marvin Harrison Jr., 6'4", true X receiver out on the outside. The big difference in option number 3, developing Michael Penix Jr., you have a little more of a safety net there for the coaching staff, so I think they might be more inclined to do something like this. It was suggested by a lot of people, and so I decided to try it out. If they do something like this and Michael Penix Jr. falls to the second, I won't be shocked one bit, and I won't be too upset. I'll be a lot like Packers fans who are just like, oh, why did we just do that? Why did we draft Jordan Love? But having that guy that you can develop with an injury history and a lot of maturity, though, he is actually... I saw this, and I cut and pasted it in here. Penix is the first one since Pat Mahomes in 2015 and 16 to pass for 4,500 yards in back-to-back seasons. I have not fact-checked that. In fact, when I looked, I thought he only passed for 4,000 yards this year. Maybe they're counting bowl games. They might be doing that. If they're counting the bowl games, I can see that. So don't fact-check me on that one. But if that's true, that's pretty awesome stat for him. But there is some injury history there with him, and might not be worth being too concerned over with how well he's played the last couple of years. But it does sound like he's going to stay out of the first round. So I wouldn't be unhappy at all if the Bears took him in that option. So there's your starting offensive side of the ball on the 53-man roster. You can pause that if you want to look at it. We're going to move on to the defensive side now. And on the defensive side, they're pretty similar as well, except in options 2 and 3, we're getting Darius Robinson as our defensive end at 241. And in option 1, we've got to settle for Braden McGregor, who is also a quality defensive end. He's just not quite up to the same caliber of Darius Robinson. But who knows when you get to the NFL. But there's a reason guys are drafted in the first and second round and become more successful. There's a reason guys like Montez Sweat become more successful. And maybe the Bears go another option and go with Chop Robinson in this instance instead of Darius Robinson. Maybe Darius Robinson. Either way, there's higher quality defensive ends in the first and second round. And I can see the Bears. I originally had them picking a defensive end no matter what at 9, but really the option of what we need more is a center, Jackson Johnson. So I've got us trading down and getting more value there too. I just see that being Ryan Pohl's MO more than Adam Mason's MO. So I see that happening as a more realistic take, that he trades down, gets some value, and then takes a defensive end in the second round with some of those acquired picks. That's just what I see. And in option 1, you don't have that option because you've got to fill some other roles more importantly. So we're going to have to take Braden McGregor. So that's it, guys. That is the options of the split screen mock draft. Any way you slice it, I'm not really unhappy with these, other than the fact that I would be really disappointed if we took Caleb Williams. If we took Caleb Williams, I'm just not a happy Bears fan. I'll get over it. Some of you, are you a fair weather Bear fan? Blah blah blah. You won't be a Bears fan. I will still be a Bears fan. I've been through a lot worse than if the Bears picked up the number 1 quarterback option in this draft. I would still be a Bears fan. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I just don't see that happening. And everything's lining up for us to trade with Washington and for them to get Caleb Williams to go to his hometown and to work with Cliff Kingsbury. In my opinion, it's just already a done deal. But just like I said on the front screen here, it's good in every scenario. Every scenario, the positive thing is the Bears have really good draft capital and we have really good cap space. So the Bears are in a great position. So this is it for Bears Split Screen Mock Draft 3.0. I think all 3 of them ended up very positive. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And until next time, bear down.